This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Our identity gets so tied up to the uniform that when you transition out, it's difficult. It's like you got to learn a new language. You got to kind of figure out what your next mission in life is going to be.
Welcome back to the Two Promises podcast. Let's dive right into another exciting adventure with BD and crew as he pursues his new passion of one day finding the most epic bourbon. The Two Promises team send their special thanks to Hobie and the Huckleberries for their masterful theme music. So grab a glass, relax, and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey and I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth whiskey. No more wine. I like straight bourbon. Baby, you try the ride.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm super stoked to have another special guest on the show. This is a very good friend of mine. We go way back, and he is also a medic. So we started in the COTs really early on, both went the medic route, and right now he has moved on into the realm of real estate, and he's got a lot of great information to share with people on real estate investments, and especially veterans, and how they can leverage all the great benefits that they have into turning into income producing assets so that they're not reliant on what if they get separated. They don't have to get to that retirement, or what if they have issues with those wages. So he's got all this great information to share, and I'm really excited to hear from Aaron. Aaron, how you doing?
Doing great, my man. I appreciate you and thank you for having me, man. Like I said, I love what you're doing, brother, and just happy to be here, man. Grateful.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited. So you had gone full bore into real estate. So was that going from San Diego all the way across the country, switching careers? Was that kind of chaotic? Can you tell us what you were going through and what was happening in this period of your life?
I wouldn't say it was chaotic. I would say there was a lot of uncertainty. And to be honest, Brent, I wasn't planning on retiring at 20 years, man. My goal was to do 30 years. I had already submitted a chief warrant officer package, and I was fully committed to the life in the Navy. However, man, I've got 3 kids, my wife, and I realized towards my 17, 18-year mark that my absence was affecting my relationship with my kids, with my wife. So I decided, man, during my last deployment in Yemen, it was during COVID time, that I was going to call it, man. So I pulled my chief warrant officer package, and I said this was going to be my last deployment. I'm going to go ahead and get out in 20 years. And I started a plan backwards, man. I knew what I wanted to do, right? I knew that I had a passion for real estate. I started investing in real estate halfway through my military career. I bought my first property. It was a 1960s single family home, cost $330,000 in San Diego. You won't even see that anymore, man. And I leveraged the VA loan, man. So I did that, and I started to learn more about the VA loan process, the advantage that we have as like 0 down payment. And what I did is I purchased that first property. I converted that VA loan after living in it for some time and renovating that property. I decided to convert that VA loan into a conventional loan. When you do that, it frees up your VA loan again, man. So I went ahead and converted it into a conventional, rented that property out, bought another one, and then got like a little system rolling like that, man. And it worked out for me, man. So that's kind of how I got started in real estate. When I started selling my properties was when I started looking at like the commissions that these realtors make. And I was like, dang, brother, you guys get paid, you know? So I wanted to do something, man, where I was passionate about it, but also I wanted to see how could I help others in this process. So now I'm helping a lot of young service members kind of do the same thing that I'm doing. The only difference is I'm recommending that they go towards multifamily, you know, whether it's a duplex, triplex, or quad, because the cash flow is a lot better.
That's awesome. So you're looking at what you basically did is you started investing in real estate. You're like, hey, I'm getting this VA and making money for that's your basic allowance for housing. I'm making money to live somewhere. Why am I just paying this rent out to a landlord? Why don't I start pay this money that I'm already getting from the military and investing it into an asset for yourself?
100%, my man. And that's how it started, right? When I got orders to SEAL Team 1, I didn't know anything about the buying process. So I went ahead and rented a condo. I was renting a condo, but at the same time, I realized like, hey, I'm paying for this condo and it's the same amount for a mortgage. Why don't I just utilize my BAH to buy a single family home? That way I'm investing in myself. That way I'm building that equity. And then in the long run, I can go ahead and rent it out to somebody else, make some good money off of it, and then go buy myself another property. So that's kind of how I started, man. Early in SEAL Team 1, buying my first property at I was 20, 21 years old, man.
That's super awesome. That's super awesome. That's what a lot of people dream about. And what you're doing right now is you're making that accessible to service members that are just coming in, people that are at that same age you were at when you first started. That's really cool. So you've basically steamrolled that, and now I'm saying, hey, it wasn't a mistake. It was a learning experience. You did a single family home, but now you're saying, hey, if somebody's getting started and they're doing this off the cuff, what would I have done differently? Oh, I would have gone straight into a multi-family home duplex, something like that. So can you break that down for us? Tell us some of those advantages, disadvantages, and why you would recommend somebody going that route.
Yeah, well, I recommend it, man, because the cash flow is a lot more, right? And when you compare it, a single family home is still considered 1 to 4 units. So you can use that VA loan for a 4-unit property, right? You don't have to go conventional. You don't have to go get a debt service coverage ratio loan. You can literally utilize your VA loan. And that's what I did early this year, man. I helped a young service member. He was looking at single family homes. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, have you thought about duplexes? I'm just saying, just start looking at duplexes. We started looking at duplexes. We found a great one, man. And the key is here, right? The key in finding a property is the location. Make sure it's in a great location. It could be a C minus property, but if it's in a B plus location, that's perfect. We ended up finding this gem, this duplex. He used his VA loan, acquired the property. It was like a $340,000 duplex, man. After acquiring it, I helped him get a tenant. So we put it on the market so he could get a tenant, got his tenant. He got himself a roommate in the process as well. By the end of it, my man, he was cash flowing. He was no longer paying a mortgage. I'm actually helping the same client right now. He actually wants to rent both units out, right? Because he's living in one with one roommate. He now wants to rent both units out. And he's like, hey, man, let's go find a single family, right? I want a new construction because there's so much new development happening here in Northeast Florida that he wants to take advantage of that. And he's like, hey, let me get a new property. Once I leave here in a year, I'm just renting all these out and I'll buy myself another property wherever I go next.
Man, that's fantastic. So you were saying that he's able to do that even with the VA loan because what's that process you were saying?
So the VA loan, so the way it works is like you can use your VA loan for 1 to 4 units. And once you live in the property for about a year, you can convert that VA loan to a conventional loan. It frees up your VA loan, right? Or you can use your VA loan twice, right? If you have enough entitlement left over, you can literally use your VA loan twice to buy a second property. As long as your first property is being leased, you're good to go, man. So there's many advantages that we have as veterans, active duty. And it really, man, it bothers me when I see young service members, they don't know much about the VA. They don't know much about purchasing a home. So my goal now, man, is as a realtor, is I try to connect with service members on base and just educate them. These are the resources you have. This is what you have at your disposal. Take advantage of this because you're going to be moving every 2 to 3 years. And if you can buy a house everywhere you go, shoot, by the end of your 15, 20-year career, you've got some income producing assets, man. You're making some good money.
For real. Yeah, and that's the great thing about the Navy in particular is a lot of their bases are on coast.
Yep.
So they're already at places that the property value is already nice, and it's not going to fluctuate down too awful much. It's going to be trending up
Exactly.
pretty consistently. Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned something else that I think I'd like to kind of dive deeper into. Most people might not know this, so I think it'd be really good for us to get more information on, is we know VA loans, some financing like that, but you were saying that it can also be used for new construction?
You can. Yeah, you can absolutely use your VA loan for new construction homes. So when I say new construction, they're already built. They're just like, they've been built that year, right? So it's really like purchasing a regular property, right? You're just buying this new construction home that's been built recently, and it's a normal process, just you purchasing the house. The only good thing about this is like here in Northeast Florida, all these builders are providing such great incentives for service members, for anyone looking to buy new construction homes, where they're literally putting down, or the incentive is like 4% towards closing costs. So literally, not only are you using your VA loan, but you're not even paying anything for closing costs. And a lot of folks get this confused, right? When service members think of VA loan, I'm not paying anything out of pocket. Well, it means the VA loan is zero down, but it doesn't mean zero to close. You still have to pay closing costs. And that's really important for people to know it. And that's one of the first things I tell my service members is like, hey, you're going to have to pay closing costs. Closing costs are usually between 3, maybe 5% of the purchase price, right? Depending on the title company. So educating your service members early so they're not shocked or surprised that it's like, hey, why do I have to pay 10 grand or 12 grand for just to close the deal? So it's important to educate early, man.
Yeah, that's great, because a lot of times sometimes they're not hidden fees, but if they just kind of jump in at you at an unexpected time, it can cause a little bit of friction and a little bit of feeling blindsided.
Exactly.
So that's great that you're very upfront with them. You're letting them know well in advance. So you're talking about your family as well. If that was like a big motivator for shifting gears, shifting careers, because I was in the same boat as you. I was hoping to do get you close to 30, another 10 years-ish. I was putting in my DCO package, Direct Correction Officer package, was just finishing up my bachelor's degree and expecting to do another 10 years in the military. That didn't work out for me. But again, best laid plans, they're always going to change. So tell me about some of the struggles and unique challenges that you face as a father, as a family man in the military, in the CLTs particularly, and how you navigated them, and what advice you might give somebody who's in a similar situation.
Yeah, man, that's a great question, man. I would say this, man, and you know this, Brent, better than anybody, man. When you're in the SEAL teams, you're gone about 85% of the year. So that was my career. I was either on deployment or I was training. I was just grinding the whole time. So anytime I would come back home, it was almost like you were a tourist in your own home, right? And you're just trying to figure things out. You're trying to figure out what the battle rhythm is around the house, because the wife handles everything. She's holding down the fort. She's managing all 3 kids. She's dropping them off to school. I'm just trying to catch up and figure things out. So it's a little frustrating. So I would say this, man, be patient with your spouse. Have some grace. When you come back either from deployment or training, have that level of patience where you can catch up. You can ask, hey, how can I assist? How can I help you with whatever's going on, right? Whether it's picking up the kids, dropping off the kids, man. So that's huge, man, having that level of patience. And I'll tell you this, man, I was going to do 30 years. That was my intent, brother. But when you start having a lot of friction and you start realizing that your absence is making an impact on your kids, right? Your kids are now getting to a stage where every time you leave, it affects them, man. They're not happy in school. They're not happy at home. There's that missing piece, that missing link, that father figure that is so important that needs to be present in the household, man. So my last deployment was to Yemen, man. And it was 2020, good old COVID, right? I was getting ready to deploy, and then I'm on the aircraft. Everything gets shut down. Everybody tells us, hey, we can't leave yet. So because of COVID, some of the members of my platoon are already in country. I'm stuck back in the States. All this uncertainty going on with COVID, people start wearing masks. You can't go anywhere. We can't go to work. I'm frustrated because I want to go down range, man. I want to go help out my teammates. I'm in the States for like about 2 months. And then eventually I finally able to deploy with the rest of my guys. And before we can go to Yemen, we have to do 15 days quarantine in a hotel by yourself, man. Now, I've been go throughout my whole career. These 15 days, like you literally can't interact with anybody. You've got your phone on you, but you can't have human interaction, right? If you had any type of human interaction, you're not going on that deployment. So I didn't want to risk it. We were all in our hotel rooms. I don't think I've had that time to really assess or think or just have time for myself and realize, all right, where am I going? What am I doing next? What's my life going to look like in 5-10 years, man? So I took that time, that 15 days of quarantine, and I just started calling guys who were already out of the SEAL teams. They were already out of the military. They've been out for quite some time, started their own careers. And I wanted to find out how everything's going, how the process has been, what's life on the outside. And what I found out is everybody was thriving, man. Everybody was having a good time. There were some guys that were struggling, but for the most part, it's natural to struggle, right? It's natural to have that level of struggle when you're transitioning, especially if you do like 10, 20 years in the military. It's going to be tough, man, because our identity gets so tied up to the uniform that when you transition out, it's difficult. It's like you got to learn a new language. You got to figure out what your next mission in life is going to be, right? So that was a bit of a struggle with me, is figuring out like, okay, I know I like real estate, but what exactly do I want to do in real estate? And in essence, all I was thinking about though is how can I spend more time with my family, right? What can I do to spend more time with my family? And really, real estate has given me that opportunity, right? I manage my own schedule. So if I want to take the day off, I can take the day off, right? If I want to take the month off, I can take the month off. So I have more autonomy, more control of my time. And with that being said, I'm able to attend all my kids' sporting events. I'm able to, hang out with my wife. If we want to have breakfast, go out to lunch, I have that opportunity now.
That is awesome. So you're basically transitioning, you've dedicated a whole life to service where you're fed 85% of the time, you're gone, you're deployed, you're trained, you are in the drive, lucky, bosus, you're a professional thief, and it takes everything you got. You had that period of time where you could reflect, and you could do some research, talk to guys who've been there and done that, and from that experience, you decide, hey, I need to shift gears. Exactly. It's not that what I've been doing is wrong. It's not that I've been doing, but it doesn't fit the future that I see for my life. I want to be more present with my family, more present with my kids. I want to be that father figure who can raise them and guide them instead of being deployed for 6 months and then come back and find to reintegrate. That's a great decision that you've made. And I'm sure it was extremely tough, but it seems like it's working out really, really well for you. I love seeing that.
It was, man. I'll tell you what, man. It was an answered prayer for my wife, man. Listen, my wife has followed me throughout my whole career, right? And you have seasons, right? When we married, you got some good seasons, some bad seasons. And she knew that, hey, I'm committed to doing 30 years. I was at my 18-year mark, and I told her, I'm done. I'm wrapping this up. I'm getting out at 20. And she couldn't believe it, man. So then we were trying to figure out where we were going to move next. Right. California is great. My entire network was in San Diego, California, right? I spent most of my career in San Diego, but I also realized that since my wife had followed me throughout my whole career, I just internally thought, let me ask her, where do you want to live? Where do you want to go? Where do you see yourself, right? You've sacrificed, you've compromised a lot for me, for my career. I've been successful in my career. And my wife said, I want to live close to the family, right? And her family had relocated to Orlando, Florida. So I was like, check. All right, I love Florida. I was like, we'll go to Florida, but I don't want to live in Orlando, right? I want to be close to the ocean, man. So we settled in this beautiful area called St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest city in the United States, man. And brother, this is home, man. And I tell you what, having family close by, you've got your nieces and nephews, they're about an hour, 45 minutes away. So the family can drive over here. They're not so far away, but they're also not so close. You know what I mean? You've got great distance, and it's a blessing to have family, man. I would say that, dude. Like, when we're in the SEAL team, we're so committed to the mission, to the platoon, that we get fixated on that, man. And we forget the importance of our family and the sacrifice that they make. And that when it comes time, when we're at the end of our career, that's all we have is that family, man. So it's important to take care of your family. It's important to do what's best for them.
Yeah. And the way you described it and the way you lead into it just really spoke volumes to me. You weren't just like, all right, in the transition, we're going to do this new thing. This is what we're doing. You connected with that team, that family unit. And you said, where do you want to go? Where do we want to be? What do we want to do with this? So I really value how you communicated that, you asked them, and you were open to not just doing things my way, not doing whatever, but really choosing to work as a team and move forward together. So with that being said, you talk about being a father and how you wanted to be more present. What does it mean to you to be a father in the modern world? Because there's so many different family types, so many fatherless homes, and so many children who will be raised without a dad in their life. So you being a father and a family man, what does that mean to you?
Dude, that's such a great question, man. I don't know if I have the right answer. We're all trying our best to be the best dad or the best father. And, sometimes I'm like, man, I fall short, right? And you lose your temper or because you want to see your kids do so much better than you, that sometimes you apply a little too much pressure on them. But I would say this, man, being present, being there when they are struggling, whether it's school, whether it's sports, having that conversation with them, making sure that you're praying with them, that's so good, man. And also letting them know that you make mistakes as well. Oh, one of the biggest things, dude, apologizing to your kids when you make a mistake, right? That shows them that, hey, even daddy's not perfect, right? So I think that's where being a good father comes, man, is being authentic, looking after your kids, leading in the right way, man, leading them towards success, leading them in a way that's going to help them in this world that we're living in. So it's truly important, man. My kids now, when we were in San Diego, they were going to a public school. Now they're going here in Florida, they're going to a private Christian school, man, and they're just being fed so much great stuff, man, that I'm amazed at my kids and how much they know about the Bible, how much they pray. My youngest, man, he's 9 years old now. And he's just a little prayer warrior, man. He will not be embarrassed. If we need somebody to pray, he'd be like, I got it. He's like, I'll pray. So I think that's important. So in essence, what I'm saying is being Christ-centered, man. And as a father, being able to surrender. I think that's so important, man, because I tell you what, when you come from the SEAL teams, you've got this level of pride, some ego. There's going to be ego all the time. And you're kind of carrying some body armor as well. You don't want people to see some weakness, man. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. It takes a lot of humility. Take that armor off, surrender yourself, and be authentic to who you are, man. Don't be afraid to ask questions because we're not perfect human beings, man. So I share that with you because of my transition from being in the SEAL teams to real estate. Did I know everything about real estate? Heck no, bro. I had to ask questions, man. I had to see who were the best performing realtors. Where could I get my guidance, man? So, yeah, bro.
That is awesome. So it sounds like you've taken your kids, you put them into a great place where the great educational environment and having a foundation to build on. So a set of core values, and right now you're probably, hey, Christian school, Bible, that's a roadmap. That hope is a roadmap to character, right living, and being able to use that foundation, base that foundation, and stream from there, grow from there into whatever life would lead them to, whatever career path that they might choose, but you've established a set of core values within them that can lead to success, set them up for success. Awesome.
So speaking of identity a little bit, let's go back to the beginning. Your initial choice to go into the Navy, you didn't just choose to be a Navy and be a sailor, which if you do that, anybody who chooses to do that, that's great. Good on you. Anybody who serves, I respect it. But you said, no, I want to be a Navy SEAL, and I also want to be a medic. So what drove you towards that specific path of being a helper and a healer in a community of warriors?
Dude, I love that, man. So the reason why I joined the Navy is to become a Navy SEAL. And the reason that is because of 9/11, man. I was a freshman in high school when 9/11 happened. And I just remember being glued to the TV, watching the towers burn, watching Americans fall, and watching the Twin Towers collapse, man. And when you're a freshman in high school, you're living in your own little world, man. And what I realized, I was naive to the fact that there are evil human beings that do not like our way of living, that want to take away, want to destroy our freedoms. I made a decision that I was going to join the military. However, I was going to join the most elite force that our country has, the U.S. Navy SEALs. So that was my path, man. As soon as I graduated high school, June of 2004, a month later, my man, I was in Navy boot camp. That was a piece of cake. However, I didn't go from boot camp straight into the SEAL teams, man. I was a fleet guy. And the story behind that is when I was joining the Navy, they had this program where it was the undesignated seaman or undesignated airman program. And that means that you can come into the Navy if you don't know what you want to do or what you want to be, what job you want to choose, then the Navy allows you to come through this program. And while you're in the Navy, you can choose whatever job you want. Not only that, you can get a $3,000 bonus for coming in as an undesignated airman. The pitch was awesome. I was 17 years old, $3,000, sign me up. I joined the Navy, my man. After boot camp, my first orders were to Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma, dude. I joined the Navy to go see the world, become a SEAL, and I'm landlocked. And I'm like, what's Oklahoma? Where is Oklahoma? I check in Tinker Air Force Base. I'm undesignated, man. When you're undesignated, it means you don't have a job. That means the Navy could do whatever the hell they want with you, man. They can put you wherever they want. I got sent to facilities. I was a glorified janitor for like 3 months. And then I just kept bouncing around, man. So eventually, SEAL wasn't a rate back then. So you had to choose a SEAL source rate to go into the SEAL pipeline. So while I was in Oklahoma, I chose AO, Aviation Ordnanceman, because it was a Navy SEAL source rate. I got sent back to A school, back to Pensacola, Florida, went through AOA school, and then I got orders to a ship, the USS Ronald Reagan. And the reason why I got sent to a ship is because I told the detailer, send me where the SEALs trained. So they were like, the only orders we have for that is the USS Ronald Reagan in Coronado. I was like, send me over there. I wanted to be as close to the SEALs as I possibly can, man. Mm-hmm. So I went to the USS Ronald Reagan, man, and that was a rude awakening. Ship life is no joke. You're working 16, 18-hour days. And I realized real fast, like, hey, this Navy stuff, hey, the men and women that are doing it, the sailors that are doing it, much respect. It just wasn't for me, man. I did a deployment with the USS Ronald Reagan, and through that process, I kept training, man. I kept training to become a SEAL. I put my BUDS package while I was on the Ronald Reagan, and once I got accepted, man, passed the PST, I was well trained by that point, made it through BUDS, made it through SQT. While I was in SQT was when one of the instructors asked if anybody was interested in going to the SOCM, Special Operations Combat Medic course. And I raised my hand. When I raised my hand, the instructor said, "Hey, do you have a college education?" I said, "No." He was like, "Well, you're not going to pass this course." He's like, "You got to have a college education." I was like, "Roger that. I'm still signing up." So I signed up, man, and I got a chance after SQT. I went straight to SOCM, man, and became a medic. The reason why I chose to be a medic is because my mother was a medical assistant, man, and she was passionate about medicine. I wanted to get into medicine. I love helping people, man. And the way I thought about it, you need a medic everywhere you go. You know, any combat operation, you got to have a medic. So I figured I'll sign up for it, man. It was great. SOCM was extremely difficult. I did get rolled, but I made it. They called me the little engine that could. Dude, I almost didn't make it through that course, man. And the reason that is because I didn't have a method. I didn't know how to study. You know, I graduated high school, went straight to the Navy. So a lot of the guys in there had a college education. They had a methodology for studying, for passing exams. For me, it was like memorize everything, memorize the entire book, man. So I struggled in SOCM, but dude, when you're committed to the grind, you're going to put in the hours, you're going to pass, you're going to figure it out. And what I learned about myself is that academically, it was challenging because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how it would be applied. However, once we transitioned over where we were hands-on, everything clicked. Everything made sense. And I'm a kinesthetic learner, man. I got to touch it. I got to feel it. I got to manipulate it. That's the way I process things, and I'm able to figure it out. And then, yeah, I made it through the course, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really good stuff there. So the guy said, "Hey, if you don't have a college education, you don't have a college degree, you're not going to make it." Obviously, you proved them wrong, but can you paint us the picture of what it's like in that schoolhouse and drinking through that fire hose? I mean, all throughout your military career, you're drinking through a fire hose. Anytime you go to a new training, anytime you go to a pre-deployment training, they're cranking that pressure up. But in SOCM and Joint Special Operations Medical Training course, it's a different degree of that fire hose. Do you mind painting us that picture?
Absolutely, man. And you hit the nail on the head. You're absolutely drinking out of a fire hose. Not only that, it's an Army school, very regimented. You're waking up every day. You got to be at 5:30 a.m., roll call, head count, right? And you're sitting through class from like 8 a.m. to 4 or 5 p.m. You're learning about anatomy and physiology. You're learning about trauma. You're learning about pharmacology. Now, if you have zero familiarity with this, you're going to struggle, right? Because you're learning something new, but they're throwing all this information at you. And the worst part is whatever you're learning that week, there's going to be a quiz at the end of the week, right? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're learning. Friday, you've got a quiz. You got a pharmacology quiz and you got an anatomy and physiology. This is where I struggled, man. It's like I knew one very well, but I didn't know the other one. So you've got two categories being thrown at you, and I would pass one and then barely pass another one. So when you don't pass a quiz in SOCM, you have to stay behind in school a little longer from like 5 to I think 7 or 8 p.m. doing extra study time, man. That was me, brother. Extra study time all day. You're constantly being bombarded with new stuff, man. So it's one of those things that you have to keep up. You have to retain really fast, retain things. And the thing for me, the reason why I struggled is because I wasn't able to apply it so quickly. It was just a lot of information being thrown at you, and they just expected you to know it by the end of the week. So yeah, man, drinking out of a fire hose, man, but it was one heck of an experience. And once we transitioned from the academic side of things, and then we were out in the field with the goats, doing our trauma, going over, learning what a crike is, learning about chest tubes, applying those chest tubes. That's where it became fun to me, man. That's where I was like, dude, I love this, man. I love it because now you're applying the skills that you were just taught, but there's a level of urgency that's required when you're a medic, man. So, anytime that we had a down goat or a down man, you had to respond. You had to make sure that you could keep that goat alive. So it was an incredible experience, man.
It really was. In Buds, we had a corpsman named Gutierrez in my class, and he came from the recon side of the house. He was a special operation combat medic, had already been to that schoolhouse, worked with the Marines, but he's like, you know what? I still want to be a Navy SEAL. So he left that, started BUD/S, started everything all over. He was mentoring us junior medics just straight out of Corpsman A school. And he was like, man, you're going to just get so much out of that schoolhouse. He's just couldn't say enough good things about it. And one of the analogies that he made was he's like, you're going to go from knowing basically nothing about medicine to watching an airplane crash, and you're just going to be like, hold my beer. And you're just going to go over there and you're going to be completely confident and completely knowledgeable on how to triage, manage, assess, and treat every single injury pattern that you might see there with full confidence.
100%, man. I think that's the beauty of that course is I think it's like 9 months long now. It used to be, when I went through it, it was 6 months long. But you leave there with that level of confidence, knowing that, hey, I can do this, right? I can save lives. But it's throughout the whole course, right? You've got your cadre, the instructor staff, guiding you throughout all the process. What I enjoyed as well was when we were doing our internships and we were actually in the ER. And now these were human casualties, right? Human, whatever the injury was, whether it's a broken femur, a gunshot wound, you were put in a position where you can lead, you could be the team lead on some patient, whether it's a trauma or a medical patient, and you were applying that skill set, man, but you were applying it with a level of confidence because of what these cadres, because of everything you learned, man. So I definitely enjoyed that portion of it. And I love the fact that I was able to save lives, man. One of my biggest deployments, it was where I put a lot of my medical skills to the test, was the PI, the Philippines. That was my second deployment in SEAL Team 1, man. I had 3 mass casualties in that time that I was there. I was there for 7 months. And I remember the first time we got a call, and I'm in this island in the Philippines called Basilan, man. And I remember I get a call, Partner Forces letting us know that, hey, they got a couple guys that have been shot, right? And I was like, roger that. So I had my little medical station, had all my resources. And I just remember being super confident, waiting for the casualty to come in. As soon as he came in, it was a gunshot wound to the leg. It was like the upper thigh area, tourniquet, stopped the bleeding, packed the wound up. Another one that hadn't come in yet, but was en route, was a gunshot wound to the stomach. And I was telling my new guys, I was like, hey, fellas, we got the next one coming in is a gunshot wound to the stomach. Stand by. More than likely, this is going to be an abdominal evisceration, right? And guys were like, what's that? I was like, his guts are going to be hanging out, dude. Dude, patient comes in, his guts are hanging out, dude. And I'm just like, dude, all the skills that you learned out in SOCM and Fort Bragg, I'm out there pulling debris out, washing the intestines out, stopping any clamping any bleeders, and then securing it, right? Packing it up and securing it. But when I was with that patient, man, we're trained to stabilize our patients, but wounds like that need surgical intervention. So we're in this island. I'm telling my comms guy, my radio guy, I'm like, hey man, we got to medevac this guy out of here. And I remember the medevac taking like 4 hours to get to our location, man. And this patient's, his stomach was just expanding. So I knew that he was still bleeding internally and his blood pressure was tanking. And he had that look of impending doom, man. And I was just like, hey man, everything's going to be fine. I got you. I was giving him IVs, checking his blood pressure. And eventually the helo got there. We got both of these patients out and we were able to medevac them and they both made it, man. But that's also, that deployment, I also was part of 3 mass casualties, man, where I had, 17 injured soldiers, limited on my resources. Talk about triaging, right? And one of the hardest things, man, is you don't know what your reaction is going to be until you're there, right? I had soldiers that had gunshot wounds to the face, gunshot wound to the chest, broken clavicle. And I had some deceased soldiers, right? And these are partner force. So these are Filipino soldiers that were ambushed by Al-Qaeda. And whenever there's an injury, they take them to our location where we were. So I'm out there. I could see just all of these soldiers injured, man. And I just go into action. My new guys didn't really know they've never seen any of this, man. They've never seen trauma like this. This is their first time. So they're looking at me like, Aaron, what do we do? How do we handle this? And I just tell them, dude, start plugging holes, right? That's all I need you to do. If you see a bleeder, put a tourniquet, right? Pack that wound up. I taught you guys how to do IVs, do an IV. And while they're doing that, man, I'm just triaging. I'm just like, all right, put a tourniquet on this guy, checking airway, just making sure everything's squared away, man. But when you come to a soldier that's no longer alive, man, and you have to make the call that there's nothing I can do. You have to move him from the section that he's in now to the deceased section. And that's a difficult process, man, because I have his fellow soldiers are right there and they're trying to tell me to do something to save his life. Dude, there's nothing I can do. He's gone. I got to make sure I can save who I can save with the resources I have, man. So being able to apply those skills in the PI was an incredible experience, man. It was one that shaped the way I do things now, that level of urgency, man. So it was incredible.
Yeah, you touched on so many great things. Being able to operate at that pinnacle. So whenever I came in, whenever I started, the last job I wanted to be was the medic. Leading up to it, but then for whatever reason, right before I signed that paperwork, it just seemed like the right thing to do. So I did it, and it was so fulfilling. So glad that I ended up going down that route. But just like you said, whenever you're sitting there, you're treating multiple patients. Yep, you have to make those hard decisions, but you're just locked on, and you are just executing, you're leading, you're guiding the team, you're directing people to treat different casualties because you've got so many going on, but you're just like knocking it out of the park. That feeling is like no other because, not only did I join the military, not only did I become a Navy SEAL, but whenever things really went sideways, whenever people are injured and lives are on the line, you're calm, you're cool, you're collected, and you're just handling business and taking care of people, getting things done, and improving their quality of life on the back end by treating those wound patterns correctly. So it's just, I've never had a better feeling than that I can think of.
I would say the level of confidence that you gain from that is incredible, but also the confidence that your teammates have in you, seeing you perform, save lives, get that medevac, right? And they're like, holy smoke, because they've never seen that side of you, right? They've never seen you in action as a medic. They saw you in training, right? With all the pigs, putting some tourniquets, stopping some bleeders, but this was no shit. This was real world traumatic injuries that required urgent surgical care. And my goal as the combat medic is stabilize, get them out of here, utilize the resources that you have, guide your new guys, right, to help you as well. And man, that was so incredible. And my new guys were just like, dude, I was like, I didn't know that you could do that,
Right.
So yeah, it was awesome, man.
That's cool. So even I had that aversion to this particular job. A lot of other people are going to have it, whether it's, I don't like seeing blood, or, that's a heavy weight. That's a lot of responsibility to be the person responsible for stabilizing and saving this person's life. What was it about the medic's role that called to you specifically?
I think innately, I just wanted to help, right? I had the skill set of an operator, but I also wanted the skill set of being a healer as well, man. And being able to be relied on when something like this happens. And it's like, hey, whenever you hear it, medic, it's like your ears perk up. It's time to go, man. And I just love that feeling, man, of people waiting on you, depending on you, and seeing you put forth these skills to save lives. I think that was it, man. I think saving lives is such a beautiful thing, man. And when I was in the Philippines, not everything was traumatic. I had a lot of medical patients, and being able to treat small injuries, being able to treat bacteria infections, being able to help families with their children, whether it's pediatrics, being able to help the elderly, that gave me a sense of purpose. And I enjoyed that part of it, man. And I honestly thought that I was going to continue in the path to medicine, man. And even when I finished my time as SEAL Team 1 and I got to first phase as an instructor, I was considering going to medical school, man.
Yeah, that is really cool. That's fantastic. So what was it that changed your mind there?
I think I just lost the passion for medicine, man. And I gained a new passion, which was real estate. I was doing a lot of real estate investing and I didn't have that passion that I used to have. I still love, helping people whenever I can when it comes with medicine, but I had other aspirations when I was in first phase and it just shifted things. However, I did pursue going to medical school. Like I put in a package. The Navy had this program called the Enlisted to Medical Degree Preparatory Program, EMDP2, long ass name. And I applied for it in first phase. However, by that time I had over 10 years of active duty service and they were only accepting people that were under that 10-year mark. So I didn't get accepted, but at the same time, I was kind of relieved that I didn't get accepted because it's a long school, 4 years long, and then you would have owed the Navy a mandatory 10 years. That's a long ass time in the Navy, man. So
It's a long time.
I was kind of glad I didn't get accepted. And by that time, I was more into real estate. I was honed in into first phase as well. So the medical thing I lost the drive for it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I value about military experience that I like telling people who are evaluating the military as an option is it's a great test bank and a great incubator. So you think you want to do something? Oh, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to invest tens of thousands of dollars to get this degree. And then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, this isn't what I expected. This isn't what I really wanted. And now here you are saddled with all this debt. On the flip side, you go into the military, you try it out, you give it a shot, and you're like, yeah, I enjoyed it. I learned a lot, but it's not me long term. Now you have a body of an experience that you can rely on, that you can use as a foundation, but you don't have all of that debt incurred from trying a degree and going down a path and realizing later, not quite what I want to do. So it's really neat that you experienced that and you went through it. It validates that whole thing. It's like, hey, I want to try something new. I want to go into real estate. So you talked about this a little bit. You talked about that mindset of diagnosing problems under fire. You've got multiple casualties, incomplete information, new people coming in, extreme stress. How does that triage thought process show up today in your new world when you're navigating a complex real estate deal and maybe multiple problems hit your desk at once?
You're able to manage it with ease, man, because of that experience. And the way I look at it, man, I see a lot of realtors. When I was in a real estate team, I saw folks panicking, right? Because it's like, hey, we got to close this deal now. We got to close. And in the end, it's like, dude, no one's shooting at us. There's a level of calm, and calm breeds calm, man. You're able to make good decisions when you remain calm. So when it comes to real estate is not high stakes, man. Yes, people are making one of the biggest purchases of their life, and I understand that. But it's a process. What I do is I create standard operating procedures for real estate, right? When I'm helping a client out, I know that this is very important to them, right? I figure out what their criteria is. What are you looking for? What type of property? Is it a single family? Is it a duplex? I try to figure out what their lifestyle is about. What do you like to do, right? How many are in the family? Is it a family of 5, family of 4? How many bedrooms? All of that. It comes with ease, and I'm able to manage it seamless because of what I've been through. And they see that, right? They see that level of confidence. They feel confident in my abilities too. And also there's a level of urgency with me as well. Like, I want to crush this for you. If you're motivated as I'm motivated for you, listen, I'm going to dedicate my time so that we can find you the perfect home, right? So I dedicate a full weekend, a full day with my clients. We go from house to house. It's all planned out. I make sure that it's not a sporadic map where we're going back and forth. We're all going in a nice little loop to see all these properties. Everything is smooth. We got a lunch break in between. And in the process, I'm getting to learn more about them. And in that, I'm able to assess their reaction when we're looking at properties. I'm able to see like, okay, I can tell that they didn't really light up with this property, but they're lighting up on this other one. And then I'm able to change their criteria a bit, adjust it to the things that I'm starting to notice. And towards the end, man, we get full success, man. So I think really what being in the SEAL teams, being a combat medic, there's a level of calm, there's a level of confidence. And like I said, real estate is not high stakes, man. So there's no need to get crazy, right? When you see your client maybe losing it a little bit, or maybe they're getting a little bit of impatient because they're not finding the property, it's about providing that level of assurance that like, hey, we're getting close. We're going to find that property. And especially here in Northeast Florida, we've got plenty of inventory. So being able to do that for them, man, it just puts them at ease.
That's cool. So you're talking about, hey, real estate's not high stakes. Yeah, you've got your biggest purchase on the line. It's very stressful. It's one of the big major stressors in life is moving, buying a new home, all that kind of stuff. But you're helping manage those emotions, keeping them calm, showing them the lighter side of things. So on that lighter side of things, you've got a lot of plaques up there behind you that I see, some paddles, probably some end of tour awards, things like that. Can you maybe pull into some of those things and maybe find a story, an anecdote, something in there that was kind of funny? So I talk about making the safety brief, which is a funny story, a prank, something like that from that inventory of life experiences back there. What do you got there that can bring a little levity into the world?
So we've got that first phase photo right there. You see that one with that young man?
Yep.
So obviously that young man is struggling. He doesn't make it. But what that reminds me of is my experience in second phase when I had that look that that young man had, man. And it was during the tread. You remember the tread?
Oh, yeah.
So the tread, yep. So you're in second phase, which is the dive combat phase. And one of the tests that we have to do is called the tread, where you're treading water for 5 minutes and you're keeping your hands above the water. Your hands cannot get submerged in the water. If your hands get submerged, you fail the test. So I'm in there, man.
I've got some little caveats there. You're not just treading by yourself. What else you got?
Oh, you've got your weight belt as well. Yeah, you've got your weight belt. You've got the twin 80 oxygen tanks, and you jump into the water, right? When I jumped into the water, I thought my straps were good to go, man. I jumped in, one of my straps came undone. So I was completely out of balance, out of whack, and I could feel one leg. I'm treading water, hands are above the water, but I can feel one side of my hip cramping up. And eventually what I did, man, is I just put my hands in the water and I started treading water. And as soon as you do that, the instructors are on you like sharks, man. They start splashing water in your face and they're like, Peña, get your hands out of the water. So I get them up off the water, but I'm cramping up again, put my hands in the water, man. Dude, it got so chaotic that they start splashing a lot of water in my face. And I completely turn around, dude. I completely turn around because I can't breathe when you're throwing water in my mouth. And so then another instructor who should be observing the other student, he decides to get in on this, dude. So now I've got one instructor splashing water, making sure it gets on my face. The other instructor behind me, making sure I'm just getting splashed everywhere. And my buddy who was on the other side, he told me while all that was going on, dude, his hands were in the water the whole time. He was just, and he still passed the test because nobody saw him. So dude, so I created so much unwanted attention during that tread, man. And it got so bad, I grabbed onto the ledge, man. And it was a death grip, man. I mean, I could not, like, no one, I was just holding on super tight. The instructors were splashing water. This one instructor is pulling me by my face, dude. And another instructor's just elbowing my arms so I can let go. Eventually, what I do is I let go, but I grab onto that instructor, man. And I'm just like, we're going down together, dude. I finally finished the test. You know, they make me swim to the other side of the pool. I come back. And dude, I'm completely hypoxic, man. I'm just smoked. And that happened on a Friday. And dude, I just remember the instructors just like clowning me and being like, what the hell happened to you? I told him, I was like, one of my straps got undone, cramped up. And he was like, dude. So, bro, Saturday, Sunday, all I did was the tread. And then Monday was the retest. When I got to Monday, the retest, all the instructors had their phones out, man. They were like, watch this guy, Dude, luckily I passed it on Monday with ease. Everything was good. I made sure my straps were secured, but it was one of the funniest stories that my classmates did. Every time they see me, they're like, remember the trend? Yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
And what's interesting, man, is like, I got a chance to be a first phase instructor, man. And when you make it through BUDS, you go to the SEAL teams, and then you get the opportunity to become an instructor, bro, you forget how grueling BUDS was. You forget all the details. You forget the daily grind of waking up 3:30 in the morning just to get your room ready, prepping your gear. And I was humbled, man, to just be able to see that again, being able to experience it from the other side and watching these young, patriotic young men try and achieve what we've achieved, man. And nowadays, these guys are coming in stronger, faster, smarter. So it's incredible to see this young generation, man, trying to do what we've done.
That's awesome. And it really is encouraging to see. So I got to spend a little bit of time as about 2 years as a third phase instructor and put tons of people through, hundreds of this new generation. And then recently I went back out to San Diego. I was rolling with Alex. He's really big into the combatives program. And one of the guys that I put through was rolling there. He rolled at the academy or something like that, did wrestling at the academy. And now he's like already done his troop commander and he's on his way out now. He's transitioning out of the Navy, but you're seeing these people that you put through and now they've done their full career. They have like checked the box. They've done great things for the country and it's really, really fulfilling experience.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was going to add to that, man. After I did my time as a first phase instructor, I got a chance to work with some of the guys I put through training. And it's awesome to see quality guys in the SEAL teams, man, with a good level of respect, right? Because in first phase, man, I was fair, but I was firm, right? Some used to call me the Grim Reaper. You know what I mean? Just, dude, if you weren't meeting the standard, you were going to go away. You've got that attention, right? If you weren't meeting the standard. But for the most part, man, we had some quality guys go through training and I got a chance to work with a few of them. And now the guy that's in my real estate team, he was in one of the BUDS classes that I was an instructor for. So it's always fascinating when working with these guys because they've seen that level of you as an instructor. And now they get to see the civilian side of you, right? Which is, you're an instructor, you're doing a job, but real world, like, hey, I want nothing but the best for you, man. Even as an instructor, unless you suck, then I'm going to be on you. So it's cool to see these guys transition, man.
That is really cool, especially to see them and them to see you where you're at. We're like, it's tough love. Like, hey, we're really hard on you because we want the best out of you, because we know you've got more in you. So translating that, it's a different level of, I don't know if I want to use the word intensity, but maybe you can kind of make this bridge between that level of professionalism what's that difference? Because I know that there's like a little nuance. If you can't be BUDS instructor in the real estate room,
No.
but you can still be intense and passionate. So what's that skill bridge, that communication parallels that we might be able to find between your SEAL career, your medic, your instructor, to what you're doing in those real estate brokerage offices?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And I'm naturally an assertive person, man. That's always how I've been. So always be authentic to who you are, but also know your audience, know your people well, right? Because you don't want to come off as too intimidating or unapproachable. So I think modulating how you command the room, right? And one of the most important things, man, is just be humble wherever you go, man. Like I said, I had that level of confidence because I came from the SEAL teams. I did a lot of great things. But when I got to the real estate brokerage, I didn't know much about real estate. I knew the basics, right? So with that being said, that level of humility of asking, don't be afraid to ask questions, man. Don't be afraid to not know the answers either, right? And that to me has kind of helped me in my leadership experience. I don't have to be the guy with all the answers, right? I can leverage the resources around me. And that's what I do, man. I love to say this, collaborate without ego, right? Collaborating without ego. Everybody in the room, I want to hear your opinion. I want to hear what you have to say. because you may have a better idea than I do, right? Just because I'm leading this team doesn't mean I'm going to come up with all the greatest ideas, man. So I think that's what's important, man.
You hit a lot of really good nails on the head. Being able to be a lifelong student, I think, is extremely important and extremely valuable, regardless of your background, whether you came from military, whether you came from, it doesn't matter. You are going to excel more in your industry if you, like you said, put that ego aside and say, hey, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm a human. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. Yes, I'm going to hopefully learn enough from others to not make mistakes. How you've been guiding people into, hey, this might be a better financial decision for you, right? But you're like, I understand that I'm learning and I'm growing. So I want to take the time to be the student, to learn again, to ask the questions and not let my past, my ego, whatever get in the way. Is like, oh, well, I was the best medic ever, blah, 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 blah. So then you're just kind of like barreling through. So how do you practically flip that switch? What is it in you that helps you go from maybe the situation's high, maybe somebody's angry, something's going wrong, you're elevated, you're kind of a little tilted. How do you flip that switch and be like, all right, ego aside, stay calm, let me address this problem with focus and clarity?
This is something that I learned in Yemen. This is where this came kind of in play. When I deployed to Yemen, it was my last deployment. I was dual-hatted. At this time, I had a different skill set. I was a level 3. I was certified in advanced special operations. And however, I was still new, man. And I was put in a position to lead Army guys, to lead Marines, to lead Navy intel personnel, and also to manage an entire partner force. And while I was doing that, there was a level of insecurity because I was still kind of new at the position that I was in. And while I was there doing my job, a new group of folks came in, an ODA team, Army ODA team came in, and they replaced the Marines. This ODA team there was about 5 of them. They had a combined level of experience of 45 years, man, doing what I just learned to do, advanced special operations. And I remember conducting my meetings, and I remember folks kind of looking at me like, who is this guy, right? Who is this guy, the SEAL that in this leadership role, kind of telling us what to do? And this ODA team, I had already researched their background. These guys were very knowledgeable, man. So I wanted everybody to know where I was, man. So what I did is I had an entire video conference with all of these guys. And I literally told them, I was like, hey, fellas, I just graduated from that course about 6 months ago. I'm in this position of leadership, but I'm not here to kind of tell you guys how to run your business when you have a lot more experience than I do. If anything, I'm all ears, man. What have you guys done that could help us be successful in this area of operation? Because the last guy that I relieved, he wasn't able to do absolutely nothing in that area of operation. I did not want to spend 6 months in Yemen doing nothing, dude. So I told these Green Berets, I just asked them, I was like, fellas, put it on the table, man. I'm not the most experienced guy here. Bro, I tell you what, man, when I did that, these guys had a level of respect and the collaboration was incredible because these guys were like, dude, I love that level of humility. And they were like, this is what we know. This is how we think we can operate here. This is how we think we can be successful in this area of operation. It opened up so many doors and I had the resources to be successful. So I told these guys, I was like, hey, whatever you guys need, you let me know. I've got the money. I've got the phones. Whatever you need, you let me know. And I will make sure you have it. And by doing that, man, by being humble, by letting people know like, hey, I don't have all the answers, and by leveraging other people's skill set for the success of the mission, that sets you up, man. That helps you in your campaign towards a great deployment. So I take that and I apply it everywhere I go, right? If I'm the most knowledgeable, great. But if there's somebody in the room that knows more or is more experienced, we should all be picking his or her brain And that's how I like to do it, man. That's why I say collaborate without ego. Bring everybody in the room. I want every voice heard. I don't want you to feel that you can't share in this meeting because you may have something valuable to say. Someone else probably needs to hear what you have to say. So that's kind of what I do to apply it, man. And it just requires, how do you switch it? Be humble, man. Be humble. Ask questions. Know that you're not the smartest guy in the room. And it's okay, because the goal is, what's the mission? Let's get the mission done. Let's work as a team.
Spot on. Spot on. Take that ego, take it down, ask questions. Hey, what's the problem? How can we address it? So these are incredible takeaways. I love what you're sharing. So you've transitioned from military, you're doing the real estate thing. You have a very unique risk assessment point of view. You've seen super danger red flags, you've seen things overseas, and now you're in the home environment. You're in the domestic area. While oftentimes we're not going to be life-threatening mistakes or problems, but they could be very costly if we miss some things. So from your unique risk assessment point of view, what's the single biggest mistake you see people make when they're buying a new home?
This is one of the issues I see sometimes, and this happened with one of my clients, is they're in the process of purchasing a home. Now, when you purchase a home and you're getting qualified or approved for a loan, you don't want to make any big purchases while you're doing that, because it's going to screw up your debt to income ratio. And sometimes folks just want that nice shiny car, man, that brand new shiny little car, and they end up buying it, and it ends up screwing with their debt to income ratio, where they're no longer approved to purchase that home that they initially wanted. So I have to make sure that when I'm working with clients, I got to let them know, hey, while we're in this process, please do not make any large purchases, right? And I try to be very transparent with them, man, and let them know, like, every little expense that you're going to have while you're purchasing a home. You're going to pay title fees, right? Those are part of the closing costs. You're going to pay for a survey. You're going to pay the lender fees, right? You're going to pay for an appraisal. You're going to pay for an inspection. If there's a septic in the house, I don't want any surprises, man. So that requires me to know as much as I can about that property to better inform my clients so that, there's no surprises. They're not like, yo, where's this? Why do I have to pay for this inspection? Well, it's a requirement. You want that home inspected, right? We want to know what's wrong with this house. And I've been in a situation where the house looks great. We do a home inspection, and there's a lot of major red flags in that home inspection, right? The roof is very old. The HVAC is old to the point where it needs to get replaced. The plumbing system may be old, right? Cast iron versus ABS piping. The electrical system may be old. Those four major components are extremely important when you're buying a home. And I've been in a situation where I was working with this young service member. The house was in a great location, but the house was in need of a lot of repairs and renovations, man. And I had to be transparent with them. And I told them, listen, this is what's going to cost you. The roof is not good on this property. The HVAC is not good. The plumbing is not good. It's going to cost you between $30,000 to $40,000 just to get this property in standard good condition. And I was like, do you have $30,000 or $40,000? I know you love the location, man. So I told them, listen, we need to take this back to the negotiating table, right? So what I did, man, is I went back, negotiated with the listing agent, with the sellers, and I requested some closing cost assistance because of these types of issues. Now, it didn't go my way that time, my man. They were like, we're not doing anything. The sellers were like, we're not making any repairs. So I told my client, listen, the best thing we can do right now so that you're not financially burdened by this home is let's cancel the contract, let's pull out of this deal, and let's go find ourselves a better deal. And that's what we did, man. And he was super happy because we ended up finding an even better home. So sometimes you got to make those decisions, man. And sometimes you got to guide your clients the right way. It's about the mission, not the commission, right? So you want the best for your clients, even if that means extending your time with them to find them a better home, because some realtors don't care, man. They just want to close that deal, right? Obviously, I have a soft spot for my men and women in uniform. I want the best for them. I want to be the go-to guy for the military. And that's kind of my goal while I'm out here in Northeast Florida, is just guiding them towards that home ownership success, man. And I didn't want to share this because it reminded me of something, because you go from being in the SEAL teams where everything's high stakes and then go to real estate, not so high stakes. But I did have a situation, man, where I was selling a home where the location was the home was in a rough location, man. And I put the property on the market. There was a lot of gang activity there. And I had a hard time selling this property, man. But I remember the first time the client who hired me to sell his property, he was like, "Hey, man, I need help selling it. Can you help me out?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely, man. I don't care how large, how small the deal was. This was a house that needed complete renovation." But I went out there, man. And before I even got out there, I looked it up. I was like, all right, this is in a really rough neighborhood, man. So I immediately got my SIG, had my strap on me, and I was like, let's go. And then I went to the location, got to the property, and just for shits and giggles, just for fun, I cleared that whole house, man, just because I missed the SEAL teams. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So fun. So yeah, you're trained to notice all these details that other people would miss, right? You're in there doing an active clearance. You're like, hey, I'm going to check this house out. I'm inspecting it for everything. When you walk into a property, what are some of the subtle red flags that you might be looking for that the average buyer would be oblivious to?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. Always asking for the age of the roof, looking at the age of the HVAC system as well. That's important, making sure the air conditioner is working, the central heater is working, asking about the electrical components, also the plumbing. If it's old plumbing, if it's an old home from the 1960s, 1950s, it might have some cast iron. That, after a while, weakens and breaks, man. And I had that problem with the first property that I bought in San Diego. It was a 1960s property. Cast iron. The first issue I had was plumbing. And I realized that the cast iron had completely broken and collapsed. And it was a complete problem, man. Also, no house is perfect, even when you buy a brand new construction. So I don't worry too much about the cosmetic stuff. It's pretty much those four main components that I look at. And those are kind of the first questions I'm asking, man, because those are costly. And when you're able to get those answers quickly, you're able to make an informed decision a lot faster as well, whether it's worth pursuing this property or not. Sometimes it could be worth pursuing. You just got to negotiate with the seller so that you can get the best deal for your client.
Nice. So you're saying there are four major pillars. You're looking at roof, plumbing, and what were some of those other?
HVAC and electrical.
Electrical. All right. Good deal. Then you mentioned negotiation. So what is your best piece of advice you can give someone who's preparing to enter a stressful negotiation in their own life? Maybe it is for a house. Maybe it's for a car, a job, a promotion. What advice would you give somebody who's ready to enter one of those negotiation phases?
I would say, remain calm. Calm under pressure is always good. You're able to make better decisions when you're calm. Don't get so emotional about something. And if you have to take 24 hours, let's say you're full of emotions, you're in that stressful environment, sometimes it's like, hey, don't make a decision right now. Let yourself cool off. Let yourself de-stress a little bit. Re-engage tomorrow. Collaborate with some of your family members. Have a meeting with your family members. Have a meeting with some of your colleagues to kind of figure out, all right, what's the best decision that I can make in this situation? So in essence, don't go at it alone. You know what I'm saying? Don't go at it alone. Leverage the resources around you. Chat with people who have probably experienced a similar circumstance, a similar situation, so that you're not consumed by all this stress on your own, but you have assistance. And that's really kind of what I do. I try to take the stress out of the home buying process, man, because I've bought several homes. I've relocated 7 times while I was in the military. So when I get military clients and they're relocating from Seattle, Washington, from San Diego, California, and it's a family, I know what they're looking for. If it's a family with kids, they want to know where are the best schools, where are the best locations. They want to make sure they're in close proximity to that base that they're going to be stationed in. So it's important to dial in all that because they're stressed. They're stressed having to relocate, having to move. So you want to take the stress out of that process.
That's awesome. De-stressing things for people, helping them think clearly, helping them stay calm, cool, and collected. There's been so many great things we've talked about. One of the things you mentioned is looking for those wins, seeking those wins so that it's win, win, win. It's not just, hey, the seller's winning, not just the buyer's winning, but we're getting wins across the board. Everybody's winning. You've had a career of that. You're in your second career of that, but you also have a huge passion to help people. Obviously, from your medical role, that was a big part of your life, a big part of your career and your identity, but you haven't put that down either. You are still leaning very far forward on helping the team, helping the brotherhood, doing things to take care of people, getting them plugged into resources, whether it's just fun events. Do you mind telling us a little bit about what you're doing outside of real estate to help people in the community?
Oh, dude, that's a great question, man. Thank you for bringing that up too. Yeah, so I'll tell you how I started too briefly. When I started my internship with Compass, which is my real estate brokerage, I was about 3 months into my internship and I had relocated from San Diego to Florida, and I was immersed in real estate, immersed in collaborating with realtors. And it was like I was building a new community, right, of realtors. But there was something missing, man. There was a sense of loneliness in the midst of all that, in the midst of going through my internship. And what I realized is I was missing that brotherhood, that level of camaraderie that we had when we were in the SEAL teams, when I was back in San Diego. So what I did, man, is I connected with team guys, with SEALs who were in Northeast Florida. And I only knew of one guy, right? I reached out to him. I said, hey, brother, let's connect. Let's go out for dinner. Let's bring the families together. And I got a chance to connect with my guy, Mark. And then while we were connecting, we were, breaking bread. I asked him, who do you know that's a SEAL? And he gave me 2 names. He gave me 2 names, 2 phone numbers. Literally the next day, man, I called both of those guys up. I called them up. I set up either coffee or lunch with them, connected with those guys. And then I asked them, who do you know that's a SEAL? I went from 4 SEALs in Northeast Florida. We are now 27 SEALs. So what I did, man, is I reached out to the SEAL Future Foundation and I asked them, I would like to build a FOB, forward operating base. That's what we call it. It's really just a network of SEALs here in St. Augustine. Bro, they was like all in, approved, get it done, keep the brotherhood alive. And because of that, man, I have that sense of community here in Northeast Florida now. But it really just took asking, who do you know that's a SEAL? Let me tell you, man, I've done a lot of meetups with these SEALs. I had one of the spouses during like the second or third meetup pull me aside, and she literally was like in tears, man. And she was telling me, she's like, thank you so much for starting this. I have not seen my husband this happy in a long time. He's like a young frogman. And our network of SEALs here in Northeast Florida, man, it's a combination of older SEALs, young SEALs, SEALs from different generation, man. But we all come together. We all learn from each other, man. We all have each other's backs. If we have a down man, we all respond and we all take care of him, bro. And, recently we had a down man, but we're taking good care of him.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just seeing you reach out, I went down there to visit a buddy who recently got diagnosed with cancer, and he was a medic with us. He was actually my roommate when I was going through the Fort Bragg Joint Special Operations medical course to become SOCMs. So he was my roommate back then. We were at Team 1 together, all 3 of us. And yeah, he recently got diagnosed with cancer. So went down there, saw him, saw the family, see what's going on. The very next day, Aaron gives me a call. Hey, what's going on? How can we support them? What can we do? What do they need? And he was just all over it like a freaking rabid spider monkey, just pouring into them, giving them phone calls, getting them resources, getting them plugged in. So I'm really grateful for you doing that. I'm really grateful for all the work that you're doing for them and so many others.
Let me add to that too, man. Helping one of our brothers, man, is obviously like when we have a down man, we're going to go all out. But connecting with the military spouses, with the spouses within our community, they are a powerhouse, man. And my wife got involved as well. Our boy who was diagnosed with cancer, we connected with his spouse, and we just made sure you're not going to fight this alone. We're going to be here with you. We want to know, what are you struggling with, whether it's finances, whether it's cutting the lawn. We've got a network of SEALs, a network of community here where we can now help help in whatever you need. So my wife went into action as well, man. She figured out what resources they needed, and all the military spouses got together here, man. And dude, they made it happen, man. So kudos to the military spouses as well.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. So that seems like a super big mission success. What else does mission success look like, a win look like for you in your life now?
I would say a win for me, man, is family. When you're able to be present with your wife, be present with your kids, be there in their lows, that's a win for me, man. Being able to build a community, I think that's another big thing for me, man. When I was in San Diego, I had all these excuses for not being able to get plugged in to the community. I don't have that excuse anymore, man. So I'm very well connected with the sheriffs here in St. Johns County, here in Northeast Florida. I'm very connected with all the first responders, connected with teachers, connected with the church. And I'm always trying to figure out ways, man, how can I be of use, man? Whether it's with my time, whether it's with my talents or treasure, right? How can I be of use? What could I do for folks that maybe need some assistance? So that's a win for me, man. Whenever you can help your local community, that's a huge win, man, because your community gets to know you, your family sees that, and you're able to bring more people to an organization, a nonprofit that maybe they haven't heard of, but needs resources, needs help. And yeah, that's a win for me, man.
That's great. I really love what you said. Time, talent, or treasure. What do I have with me right now, whether it's resources, my abilities, or my opportunity to take action on something that can benefit the community at large, that can build the relationships, that it can improve this environment that I'm in. That's really great. Time, talent, and treasure. So you got your hands on a lot of stuff. You're loving the real estate thing. It's been a joyful experience for me to see you just really take off, really own this new life, this new part of your career. And anytime I see anyone be successful, it just makes me happy. But whenever it's one of my brothers, somebody that I've known forever, and just seeing that in their lives, it just exponentially more for me. So what's the future look like for you? What's your next ridge line? What's the horizon line look like?
So my next goal, man, is, so last year was my first year as an agent, real estate agent, and my focus was reps. Get as many reps as you can. Doesn't matter how big, doesn't matter how small. And I was able to close enough deals last year where this year, it was my first year as a principal agent, meaning I was my own agent. I wasn't part of a team. So my goal now is to build a real estate team. I've got my first team member join me last month, and to provide that gentleman with the level of mentorship, the level of guidance to be successful in real estate. And the best thing about it is he's another team guy, man. So, that cool. Instant rapport, right? That cultural fluency that we have, that get after it mentality, right? Failure's not an option. We're going to win no matter what. Dude, to have that in your team is incredible. But there's also a sense of humility that comes with that, because I've got a gentleman who's just joined my team, doesn't know anything about real estate. His mother was in real estate. He's learning, but he's open to learning, which is great, man. So that's my next ridgeline, man, is building a high quality team of high performing realtors.
That sounds like you're going to crush it for one. And it sounds like such a fulfilling enterprise to get into, because we don't have more land. Land is not really a renewable resource. It's a limited quantity. So whenever you're being able to tailor a high-functioning team to helping people get the properties that they need that are going to help their family survive and thrive and just take them to the next level is really exciting. So we'll start wrapping this up pretty quickly here, but I want to give you a couple more questions to end it on, and then I'll give you the last word. What do you miss most about being a medic? And what is one thing that you're most grateful for to have now in your new career?
Gosh, man. As a medic, what do I miss most? I think I miss the impact that you make on people where they went through like a traumatic experience, and I somehow had something to do with their healing process, right? I had something to do with them getting better. And I think that's extremely impactful, man, because when you're able to treat a gunshot wound that somebody thinks they're not going to make it, but you instill in them through your experience, through your application of medicine, that kind of level of confidence where, hey, you are going to make it through this traumatic event and you're going to go out and do great things, man. And like I said, the Philippines was a huge, huge impact in my life. I got to save a lot of lives, but I also got to see people not make it, right? So I think that's the most impactful thing, man, is the fragility of human life, right? And the impact that you can make when you dedicate yourself to that craft and when you dedicate yourself to helping others. I think that's what I'm going to miss most about being a combat medic, man. I'm going to miss people yelling, medic, and being the guy that runs.
Yeah. Dude,
and what am I most grateful, man? Dude, I'm grateful for the time I have with my wife and kids. I'm grateful for the community that I've established here in Northeast Florida. Dude, I'm grateful for you just providing me with this great opportunity, man, because I love everything that you're doing, man. And when I see team guys' success, I always tell my guys, man, the guys in my farm, dude, your success is our success, man. And I tell guys, what can I do to help you either in your personal life or in your business life, right? I can help you market your business, man. And so that's what I'm grateful for, man. I'm in a position now. I'm grateful for the autonomy that I have. I didn't have that in the SEAL teams, man. You were just busy day in and day out, man. And, there's no more excuses, bro. I've got time and I want to leverage that time wisely.
Fantastic. You touched on something I can't help, but I got to circle back at it.
Yeah.
You talked about people dealing with some serious issues, some heavy issues. We talked about losing people. You were in the Philippines. You saved people's lives. You lost people's lives. And right now, we're kind of facing an epidemic, a veterans mental health crisis epidemic that's really just a mirror, a reflection of what our normal communities are facing, of these mental health issues, these invisible wounds, some things that are going on underneath the surface that are not, you can't see. You can't look at it and say, oh, his arm's broken, his clavicle's broken, like you were saying, his guts are hanging out. No, there's something going on under the surface that is very real, that is having a very negative effect on the person, and then that gets reflected out to society. You went through a period where you had an invisible wound yourself.
Yeah, man.
Do you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely,
experience?
man. Yeah, man. I'd love to share that, man. As I stated, my time in the Philippines was an incredible experience, man. I got to save lives, but I also got to experience the loss of life. And one of the most traumatic injuries, or one of the most traumatic experiences for me, was not being able to save the life of a 14-month-old child shot in the head. Now, when you go through that process, I'm processing things fast. You don't know it's affected you, right? But you've got this 14-month-old child shot in the head. You're trying to do everything you can to save her. You know you don't have the resources. You're assessing. You're seeing her fontanelle bulging out. She's got increased intracranial pressure. She's bleeding internally. And you trying to call a medevac. And the area we were in at that point was very hostile, that they were like, we're not sending any helicopters to your location. So it was like, give her back to her mother. Tell the mother to take the child to like the tribal hospital. Child doesn't make it, right? So you leave with that feeling of like guilt. Man, what could I have done better? Was I properly trained to treat these pediatrics? Did I not do enough research? Did I not put myself in a better position? Or you start kind of questioning and doubting your capabilities, man. So I dealt with that that happened in 2013. I dealt with that on my own for the longest time. And there comes a time where you start dealing with all these invisible wounds, man, that if you don't talk about them, if you don't share your story, if you don't get the proper mental treatment, mental therapy to heal, it's going to eat you alive, right? So before I retired, man, I decided to go to a program called the Renew program. And it was a 5-week inpatient treatment at the Minneapolis VA hospital. And dude, I got psychotherapy, physical therapy. I went through art therapy, music therapy, recreational therapy. all the types of therapies you can possibly get. That treatment was tailored to my experience, what I was suffering through, right? And I got a chance to talk about my experience in combat. I got a chance to just be vulnerable, man. And it's okay to not be okay. And I think sometimes, there's that saying, suffer in silence. Well, no, man. Like I said, it's not okay to be okay. If you're going through something, say it, speak it. That's why nowadays, dude, when I reach out to my guys from the FOB, I'm like, how's it going, man? And they're like, dude, everything's going well. And then, we chat for a little bit. And then I tell them again, bro, how's it really going? How are things in your business life? How are things in your personal life? It's important to peel that onion back and really get to the root of why it is you're either feeling depressed, feeling insecure, whatever the case may be, man. Don't go at it alone. Get the proper treatment because like you said, man, I've seen too many of my mentors, they're not even here anymore, right? And I don't want to see that, man. That's the reason why I built this network of SEALs. And I've seen it within my community as well, within this network that I have. There's a guy that wasn't picking up the phone. I was like, dude, I'm going to your house. Stand by. I was like, I'm bringing food. I'm bringing some cigars too, in case you smoke, right? So it's about sharing your story, man, and being okay with being vulnerable, man. And when you're vulnerable, that other person can share as well and be vulnerable, and you guys can heal together, man. So that's kind of my piece of advice. That's kind of the invisible wound that I was dealing with. I was also dealing with a lot of physical pain. Obviously, you do 20 years in the Navy and the SEAL teams. There's a lot of wear and tear, man. There were times, dude, that I would just running errands and just sweating profusely because of the pain on my neck and the pain on my back. And I was just like, dude, how do I get rid of this pain? Like I'm eating Motrin like Skittles. Nothing's working. The last thing I want to do is get into opioids. There was a time, man, during that transition where things looked like they were going to fall apart, right? Not only are you going through these invisible wounds, but you're going through some physical pain that you're trying to manage all of that. But the goal is don't try to do it by yourself. Get the necessary treatment. Don't be afraid to ask for help, man.
Huge points, super great insights. Even from my own experience, it was like my body just shut down. My mind went on overdrive. I couldn't stop ruminating. I couldn't stop negative thoughts, intrusive thoughts. But the rest of my body was like bird bones. Everything that could go wrong with my body went wrong. I was breaking bones. I was dizzy. I would have like a lot of vertigo. I would fall. You know what I mean? And I'm sitting here thinking, dude, I'm in my prime. I just had an amazing career. I had 7 deployments. We freaking hit home run after home run. All of these things should not be going on. All of this dysfunction should not be occurring within me. And looking at me, I seem healthy. To the outside observer, oh, you're a Navy SEAL. You're a SEAL chief. You have all these things going for you. But whenever that body breaks down, when that mind breaks down, yeah, we can be resilient to a point. But at some point, we're all going to hit that threshold. A big reason why we did what we did was so we could push our limits, so we could see how far this body could go, how many things we could achieve, how many lives we could impact. And then you get to that point where all of a sudden it's just not working for you, but people don't see it because it is something that is not visible. And I think a good parallel that we could make for this, I mean, luckily I did eventually get treatment. I did get help and they did kind of put my guts back in, right? I got vertigo so bad, I started throwing up. I gave myself a hernia. So here I have my guts hanging out and I could see them through underneath my skin. And I'm thinking about the guy I treated in Afghanistan that had his guts hanging out right around that spot, just like you with the guy in the Philippines. But you had a fairly common traumatic injury that occurred that you couldn't see, that built up in your chest, and all you felt was the pain, but you didn't know exactly what was going on. And I think this is an amazing parallel to what other people might be experiencing on, say, the mental health side and things like that. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit of that story.
Dude, absolutely, man. Talk about a huge setback for me, right? Yeah, when I was in SEAL Team 1, man, I was a new guy in SEAL Team 1, getting ready to go to unit level training, right? Getting unit level training is so we can get certified for deployment. And prior to that, we're doing pre-unit level training, right? We're just training to training. training to go to training. And we did an intense training during the week. Friday came along, early day, Frogman Friday. Saturday morning, man, I wake up to go run a 4-mile time run, right? Just wake up, do a 4-mile run. And I woke up that morning with tightness in my chest, difficulty breathing. And I'm thinking, okay, this is probably from the workout I did either Thursday or Friday. And I get up, I go do my run. I get about 1 mile in and I can't run anymore, man. My chest is just tight. It's painful. And I walk back home. I tell my wife I've got some issues with my chest. My wife is immediately like, hey, let's go get it checked out. I'm like, no, it's probably I'm just sore. That's it, man. This happened early in the morning. I extend the time all the way down to when it gets to 5 p.m., bro. By 5 p.m., I'm in the tripod position trying to breathe. And finally, I'm like, babe, we got to go to the ER. And so she takes me to Balboa Hospital. And if you want to skip the line at the hospital, just tell them you have difficulty breathing. You'll be the first one there. So I get to Balboa Hospital and I tell them, hey, I've got issues with my chest. I can't breathe very well. And they immediately do a chest x-ray. And what they see is my left lung was completely collapsed, man. It was completely shriveled up. Then they do a chest CT scan. And what they tell me is, hey, you have blebs in both of your lungs. Blebs are blisters in your lungs. And I'm just like, holy crap. I don't know what any of this is, man. And they're like, and I'm just like, I just want to breathe right now. So when you're in Balboa Hospital, man, Balboa Hospital is full of a lot of interns. So everybody's excited in Balboa, man. They're like, holy crap, we got a guy with a spontaneous pneumothorax. And I've got all these interns lined up. They want to be the one to do a needle decompression on my chest, right? And the needle decompression, what that does, it relieves the pressure. You stick a needle into my chest, you leave the catheter in there, and it relieves the pressure, the air that's trapped in my chest. It relieves it so I'm able to breathe, right? So they do what's called a pneumodart. Instead of doing it here on my chest, they do it on my side. So one of the interns sticks it. I'm able to breathe a little bit, but again, that pressure builds up again. They got to stick another one. And then the doc comes in, man, and he tells me that you've got blebs in your lungs. We got to go in there. We got to cut all those blebs out. And all those blebs are currently in the apex of your lungs. So they're all on the top. So we got to snip the tip, both of your lungs, all the top. So I got short lungs now. And then we have to do a procedure called pleurodesis. Now, pleurodesis is when they adhere your lungs to your pleural cavity. So to your chest wall, pretty much. And it's a painful procedure because they got to go in there and they got to scrape the inside of your wall to create inflammation. And then they add this kind of chemical in there to adhere your lungs to your chest. So I go through that entire procedure, man. And I wake up from that procedure. I've got 4 chest tubes, 2 chest tubes on each side. Wow. And talk about pain, man. It was so painful. They had me on this opioid machine, and all I had to do was just press the button to get a dose of opioid into my system, man. I remember waking up being in so much pain. I was just like, just tapping away, and it limited my dose to a certain amount. But I would just click until I passed out every time, man. I would wake up, pain, just click all the way away until I wanted to be numb. It felt like I was burning from the inside out. So I went through that process, man. This was in SEAL Team 1. I was a new guy when this happened. So, dude, talk about not only are you a useless new guy, now you're an injured, useless new guy. So it was a process, man, where it's like, how am I going to get back from this? Am I going to even be able to survive this? Is the Navy going to even accept me to stay in the SEAL teams? So I had to fight that entire process. And eventually, right, I healed up. They did the pleurodesis procedure. My lungs are now attached to my chest wall. And now I got to go through the whole medical process of whether the Navy is going to allow me to stay in. So I had to submit a package, had to submit a waiver. And I just remember being worried, man, because I thought my career was over. I remember the support from the SEAL team leadership that they were going to do everything they could. They were going to fight for me to stay in the Navy. And they did exactly that, man. They helped me with my package. We submitted our package to BUMED. They were the ones that were going to approve whether I was going to stay in the Navy or not. And luckily, I got approved to stay. But that was just the beginning, man. That approval was just the beginning of a long recovery process, because by the end of that surgery, I wasn't in great shape, man. I was still young, but I wasn't in the shape that I was when I was in BUDS or SQT. So I had to get back in shape, and I had to, now I've got these short lungs. I got to be able to leverage these lungs. And it was a process, man, to get back into shape. But luckily, I got into good shape, man, and I got a chance to deploy. I healed up just in time to deploy with SEAL Team 1, and we went to Iraq, did direct action operations. So that was one of the biggest things for me is I don't want to miss this deployment. I don't want this injury to hinder my ability to go to war and take the fight to our enemies. And luckily, dude, God was with me, and I was able to pull through and make it to that deployment.
Dude, so awesome. Pushing through, having that invisible injury, that pressure that's built up that just needed to be released by the right therapies, by the right professionals, and you made it happen. And then you went on, you served a full career, because that was your new guy thing. You did that deployment in Iraq, doing DAs, taking the fight to the enemies, keeping the fight away from our streets, away from our homeland, overseas. And you performed at the pinnacle, did a full career, and now you're moving on to a ton of also amazing, great things, and you're continuing that legacy. It is so great to see. It's been awesome catching up with you and just hearing your story, reliving it from your point of view. Because I remember you're like, man, all I did was put up a TV today, and then all of a sudden I couldn't breathe, That was And so I remember those were our conversations back then, and now I'm hearing like the more in-depth of like all of that went through, and then being able to follow on, go through all that BUMED paperwork and getting approved to carry on. So again, super grateful to have you on here. I'm going to send it over to you for any last words you might have, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, man. I'm just super grateful, man. And I would say I want to end with this, man, because I know there's a lot of teen guys going through this transition, separating or retiring from the Navy. And even if you're not in the military, but you're going through some type of transition, right? You're doing a career shift. My encouragement to people is this: go all in on that thing that you want to do, whatever that goal is, commit to it without a backup plan, right? The Bible says this, man: the double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So when you and I showed up to BUDS, we had already made a decision, man. Failure was not an option, right? There were no safety nets, no plan B. It was either this or nothing at all, right? That same level of commitment applies to anything meaningful in your life, whether it's a new career, your relationship, your faith. Dude, you gotta go all in, man. So whatever that is, whatever decision you make, and you truly decide, that becomes your next mission, right? That's when life starts to actually move. So if you want to change your life, dude, burn all the boats. There is no backup. Commit to that thing that you want to do and just go all in, man, and embrace the process.
That's awesome. I love it. Go all in, embrace the process. Thank you so much, Aaron. It's been so awesome having you on the show, and I'm excited to see all of the great things that you continue to do there in Florida and beyond.
Brett, thank you so much, my man. Always a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today on this curious roller coaster of life. If this is your stop, please exit peacefully. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you're ready for another one, just push play. Just a final note before you go: thank you, and thank you for feeling. The distillation and aging process is different for everyone. I'm not quite sure what you're ready for. Sip slowly and enjoy responsibly.
Baby says she's leaving if I don't stop drinking wine. So I switched to whiskey, now I'm feeling fine. Drinking that smooth whiskey.